What's up, everyone? Today we're going to be throwing this Hobbywing Quick Run Fusion SE, and it's a 1800 kV. We're going to be throwing that into the 1982 Toyota pickup from RC4WD drive. So if you haven't seen my other videos yet, this is basically brand new. I went through and did some suspension tweaks to it, so it actually flexes now. So if you want to see all those videos and how to make this look or be more scaled to the real Toyota pickup itself, go check those other videos out. But today we're going to be upgrading the motor just to get a smoother drive. I'm gonna have some before video from when we took this out on the test track with the stock 45 turn motor, and then we'll be taking it out with this new motor and see if it runs any smoother. That's really the main upgrade, or main reason I want to do this, is just have a smoother ride, because usually these out of the box, they kind of have like a jerking, or just, I don't even know how to explain it, but they just don't drive that smooth with these 45 turns and stock ESCs. They're great, they have plenty of torque, plenty of run time, but I'm trying to get my stuff to just look a lot more scale when it's driving, and it also gives you better control, and you have tunability if you or when you buy the little tuning card for it, programming card. Sorry, I'm used to real cars, tuning, but programming, whatever, same thing. But yeah, we'll throw this bad boy in and see if that helps. It should. I've seen videos that it does. Obviously gonna get more power with this. Hopefully it's not like too fast or anything. I only have this stock pinion gear right now. I have other ones on the way in case this is a little too intense, but we'll see how it runs. I think the coolest part about this setup is it completely eliminates the ESC, because it's built into the motor, and it also has the that fancy crawl mode where it senses load and it'll give you a smoother just overall drive. So anytime you hit a rock, you don't just stop like this motor. It doesn't just stop and then you have to bump up it kind of thing. Like, it doesn't do that jerk thing. This should just sense the load and continue driving smooth up rocks and all that stuff. So we're gonna test that out as well, see if I like it. You can turn it off as one of the options too, so you don't have to deal with it, but we'll see what it does. I'm new to these Fusion motors, so we'll just start by removing all of the old stuff, the old ESC. Just pop the clip off there, and then we'll just snip the zip tie. I put this zip tie on because I was already messing with stuff before, but there will be two zip ties here usually, and then we got the one here and one there. I always like to keep these just as a spare. I mean, maybe keep one in your bag or something if you're out crawling somewhere and far from home, and for some reason your motor takes a dump on you, and that way you can still continue crawling. I mean, it won't be as smooth, but you'll still have power and all that. I'm always the one that's over prepared for things. I got bolts and all that. And this is probably double-sided taped. Yeah. There we go. Alright. This stuff is strong. Oh, and then the little switches like taped on under there too, or wherever they got it. Oh yeah. Just some 3M style tape. Oh man, that stuff is strong. Alright. It's a very simple upgrade. I mean, technically putting it together is easier than tearing it apart, because you have half the work. Just always whether the little grub screw will come out of the pinion gear or not without stripping. Those are usually a gamble. Oh, okay. Came out real easy, thankfully. I guess if this thing being brand new helps a lot with coming apart. I'll take this pinion off. Sometimes you gotta get a screwdriver in between here and pry it. Yeah. All it takes is a little bit of persuasion, and then pop it off. And it is just the factory, what, a 14 tooth, so get it slid on here and then line everything up I like to just get it on there, get the grub screw on, but don't tighten it because you gotta make sure your gear lash and all that lines up good before you tighten that one down. And put some Loctite on the grub screw. And then this Fusion motor has a ton of holes for screws, so it makes it easy to line up with probably anything. And then you get more adjustability where you want the wires pointing. So let's see, find one over here a little bit. There we go. I'm just gonna run them just like they were set up from the factory basically. And then you just want your pinion gear to be center, just the way you took it off basically. And then gear lash, obviously not too tight where you have like resistance, but also not loose enough where you're gonna shred the teeth. So this is I like to just push on it and then give it a couple wiggles and check the gap with the gears, and as long as it's free spinning, you're good. And then this you'll have to plug back into the factory one right here, but you just have to cut this zip tie because this isn't long enough, and then just route the wire however you want. I usually do above, or like on the frame rail, that way you don't see it from underneath when you're crawling. So I might even run an extension. I might pop this off and put a longer one on just because I don't want it to be like halfway in between the battery. I kind of want it to run factory, and you could flip the motor over and run it that way kind of, but this will hit the servo, and you could do up over, but I got the engine bay and stuff in there, so it'll kind of have more stuff I had to cram under there. So it's all, like I said, all preference. So I'll probably just reroute that since I have longer extensions for the channels on the receiver. Oh, well, actually, after opening this up, you don't even have to run an extension. It's just zip tied right here, and there's extra wire in here, so just snip that zip tie so you can lengthen it out more, and it should be all right. So yeah, don't even have to swap that out. Perfect length. All right, so I actually ended up routing the wires a little bit different than I was going to in the first place, but reason being is I plan on cutting these tabs off the bed and actually getting this truck, like the cab back, and separate the bed from it like a real truck, like my other Trailfinder. But yeah, just because where that junction was going to end up was like right here, and it was going to also be in the way of the battery. You have to be able to move the battery up forward quite a bit to get that cab back to slide here, so I can mess with it too eventually. I also ran out of black zip ties, so that's gross. Routed this wire up here. It's not going to get into the spur gear or anything. The only one that was close to the spur gear was obviously these ones that are routed here, so you got to zip tie these down. Kind of just did that one there because, I don't know, just to keep it from flopping up in there. So yeah, that's just how I did it for now. If I had to change it, I'll change it. Alright, so I threw a battery in and we'll test it out. Always put it up on tires or something so it doesn't just run away on you when you put new electronics in. Just a safety precaution. Alright guys, so this turned into kind of a nightmare. I'm sitting here like, why isn't it going into programming mode? It wouldn't do anything, and then it would just start driving by itself after I was, trying to get it into program mode. Well, long story short, it turns out that this motor, ESC motor combo, wants to be in a different slot. So originally I think it was in the battery slot. I can't even remember at this point. I've been messing around with it, but essentially make sure this is plugged into channel 2. So it's not in channel 2 from the factory like the RC4WD drive setup. So all you gotta do is I swapped the light one up to, I think it's channel 3, just because that was actually in channel 2 if I remember correctly, and then this was at the bottom. So now everything works, and we got our, look at that, that is so smooth. That is why I got this motor. So super stoked. But alright, yeah, that was a massive pain in the butt. I'm not very tech savvy with RC stuff, but that, I guess, is a weird issue. So if you're doing this to your stock RC4WD drive and it's not working with this, yeah, pop that bad boy into channel 2 and you should be good to go. Alright, now that we got all that figured out, I'll just kind of run through this quickly, how the settings work. There's other videos to go in more specifics about it in detail, but essentially whatever ESC you get, or motor ESC combo you get, it'll come with its own programming card sheet thing, so you just basically put it over that. But since I have this other ESC that I have in my other truck, which is what this one's for, the Quick Run 1080, which this is also really good too. I'm not gonna go over this. I'll maybe put it on the back or something so I can reference it, but or just have it on your phone. But yeah. Anyways, so how this works is you just go through your options here. So the item number is going to be the red number, and your value will be the white underneath it. So basically, with the motor, this setup will be this card, and I believe that number one is that field oriented control, the FOC thing that helps regulate the throttle when you get into like an obstacle, and it just continues the power instead of like hitting it and then going up it. So it just helps regulate a smooth transition over obstacles. So you can turn that on and off there. I'm gonna keep it on because I kind of want to mess with it and see how it works. But then from there, item 2, I have it in auto because this is a nickel metal battery. It's not a LiPo because I don't like dealing with LiPo problems. There's no sense in dealing with it because nickel metal run perfectly fine in these rigs. Let's see, voltage cutoff, we disabled that because we don't need to worry about that because we don't have LiPo problems. ESC protection, so that'll be the temperature. We'll just keep that on 1 to be safe. It'll do an auto cutoff. This is for your servo, I believe, the BEC voltage, and standard is just 1, so we'll leave it there. And this is kind of like more the main area where you're getting into the drag brake and drag rate and all that stuff for like a crawler. So you can adjust it so you have enough brake to hold your rig on an obstacle, but you can also have it so it comes in smoother rather than just a complete stop when you let off the throttle. So that's pretty nice. So they'll just be tuning depending on your rig, weight, and whatever you just kind of desire with it. But yeah, very simple to use. Even someone like me that doesn't know how to do this stuff, I'm good with real cars, but slowly getting into modifying this stuff more because makes it more better, I guess, right? But once you get all your settings done the way you want to, you just hit OK, and that saves it to your ESC, and then you're good to go. Just make sure you turn it off and all that before you unplug it. So before we go out and test this out on a test track, just to show you how insane this is. I mean, I come from an era where like you had to run brushed motors because you get that low end torque, and like everything that was brushless was just like way too snappy. You couldn't have an ESC that would work really well with it, and it was just, you couldn't get it to work with a crawler. It just wouldn't. It was either you're rock bouncing or you're in a jerky, brushed motor. So this is insane. So look how sweet this is, because I was worried about brushless being way too fast, but I mean, give it a tiny bit of throttle and that FOC system just glides up. I mean, that is so insane how smooth that is. I was over here worried about like a pinion gear and all that, and I'm barely on the throttle at the radio. I mean, I could put my hand here. It just continues that pressure. So that is amazing. And running it with that field-oriented control on actually preserves the battery even longer too. So that is just crazy how far technology has come for these. And I mean, don't mind me, I just haven't really done anything with them in several years, like well over 10 years. Like I've just always ran the stock motors and sent it, but I'm trying to get into them more serious now and enjoy them better. But I mean, you go from crawling like this to blowing the drive shaft apart. That's just because that drive shaft isn't long enough. But yeah, crazy. This is super cool. I can't wait to go test this out. So let's go do it. Well, that test run came to a halt pretty fast. So if you can see here, the engine bay is hitting them wires. So I gotta figure out how to orientate this, hopefully, in a way that the wires will clear the engine bay. So stand by. Alright, well, problem number 1 kind of solved. Haven't really done anything with the wires yet, but problem number 2 don't know if you can see that real well, but there's a little lip right there hitting the motor from the engine bay. So I can see if I can trim that up. Get the truck to slide. It needs to slide back more. And that little lip is hitting the motor because this motor is a little bit longer than the old one. So I don't know. I gotta finagle this a little bit more. Alright, well, this is turning out to be more of an adventure than I planned on. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a motor drop on this to get the motor to sit down a little further, and then I think from there we'll be fine. I'm not gonna really film much of this because I don't want this video to be a motor drop video, but there are videos out there. You basically have to take all this apart and see those other holes. You unbolt this and then turn it down a notch, or however many you want to, but the further down you go, the more issues you run into. You gotta like cut this and all that sorts of stuff. Well, I have to take a huge bite of humble pie right here, because this would work if there was holes like in between these two. It would work perfect, but you either have to have it where it was or way too far down where it'd work, but then your motor's sticking, it'd be like way down there, sticking down where you can see it, and it's just not gonna look good from the outside. So after ripping this whole thing apart, I guess I'm just gonna shave the engine bay and just call it good that way, because this will not work. Maybe someday if I was feeling extra fancy, I could drill and tap into here and make it work, but at this point I just want to drive it. So I'm gonna put this back together the way that it was, and then yeah, shave the bay a little bit and take her out for a rip. And one other thing I can try, I can get a smaller spur gear and try it that way, because just the way that it mounts, I'm not gonna put everything back up, but when you go one hole over, it's hitting the frame and you can't go in any further because of the spur gear. But when I have the spur gear out, I can get it in far enough where it sits right here, which would be pretty perfect because you really can't see it down there because of the frame rail. And I could always paint the motor where the red letter is, or take the sticker off. So I might try that in the future, just get smaller spare gear, and then I'll get a smaller pinion as well. Try it that way. I don't know. It'll be experimenting down the road, but yeah, like I said, I just want to drive it. So we're sending it, cutting the engine bay. It's not like I have the hood open much anyways, but I'd rather have it look good from the outside and not have a motor drop down here and all that nonsense. So yeah, sorry for the rambling, but I screwed up, so you don't have to. Alright, after several hours of annoying trimming and stuff, which I'm not going to even put in the video, finally got everything to fit. I ended up cutting the wheel wells and the engine bay just for these to fit. I was trying to fight the motor, the shock hoops, and the inner fender liners, because I was trying to get those in as well, which you had to trim up for them to fit. So it was just a nightmare of trimming and fitting and on and off with the body. But it's finally fitting. It took extra long because I wanted to trim I wanted to trim the least amount possible, just to, I don't know, make it look halfway decent. But we're not trying to make this thing win any scale awards or anything. I just wanted to keep the engine bay. But yeah, that's what it's gonna look like if you have to fit this motor in here. Shock towers poking through a little bit. I might try to hide them a little bit down the road, maybe someday if I'm feeling like it, but take some of the extra wheel well or something. I don't know, we'll figure it out. But I'll show you just a quick view from the bottom so you have a rough idea if you are gonna put this motor in, what you got to do. So the main area you have to cut is really just where the fan shroud is. So there's that lip that was there before. Just hollow this out so it's smooth with that, and then all the way up to here you have to cut quite a bit of there. There you go, if you had to take a picture. Anyways, let's finally take this thing out and test this motor. there you have it. This motor is super smooth. I now want this in every one of my trucks, and it's just cool because it's just one unit. You don't have to have a ESC over here. Frees up space for like your interior and stuff. I'm hoping it's gonna help me out too, because I'm gonna have to slide this whole plate forward when I separate the cab and bed on the truck. So yeah, it is super cool. It was just a pain in the butt because whatever, this was plugged into the wrong thing, and then obviously having to fit it to this. But otherwise, if you don't have a engine bay or anything, you literally just swap it in. So yeah, super easy, simple upgrade, and it just simplifies the chassis as well because you're getting rid of excess stuff. But that FOC, that control system it has, so smooth. It is just, I don't know, I'm so happy with this. Yeah, probably gonna be my go-to setup from now on. Also, a side note, these tires grip like weirdly well. I figured they'd be pretty good because it's a newer compound, and these tires in real life are actually super good. They're like my favorite all-terrain tire ever. But the foams that come with them are stupid hard. So that, like, there's no tire flex at all with all the weight on it. And I figured they would be pretty trash with that foam, but these have been gripping like beyond what I even figured they'd grip. So yeah, these are really good out of the box. And if you want to make them even better, just do a softer foam in them or shave the foam down or whatever. But yeah, those tires are gripping super well. I planned on swapping tires and stuff on it. I just wanted to leave the truck looking like it did out of the box for these upgrade videos I was doing for the thumbnails and stuff, so people that are getting into it can look at what I'm doing, and if they're doing the same stuff, they know what they're getting into. So that's kind of why I left it like this. But next video, we are going to start making this look different. So stay tuned for that. We're going to be making it look like more of a beater woods truck, more detailed, and doing the Tamiya grill swap, which I am super excited for because I just love the front end so much better. Alright, well that's going to be it for this video. If you liked the video, I appreciate a like. Subscribe if you want to stay up to date with all the builds and projects. And follow my Instagram, poverty_society. If you want to see more content on there. And as always, thank you for watching. And I know I'm pretty far behind the times. Like, this is not really that new of a thing, having brushless motors and crawlers. But like I said, I haven't done any motor upgrade ever. And I got into these probably like 15, 20 years ago. I can't even remember how long ago it was. But back then you couldn't run brushless in them because the ESCs just couldn't compensate like the slow and whatever. It just didn't work, and the trail braking and all that. So if you look like 15 years ago of like crawler videos, everyone would actually put their videos and upload them in slow motion so it would look more scale, because you always had that choppiness. So it's just a funny thing, and how it's unique and cool to see how far the technology has come for the crawlers. And I'm glad like it's actually becoming popular now, because back then you had a crawler and people were just like, that's dumb, it's slow, like how fast does it go? It's like, it doesn't go fast. So I don't know, I know I'm behind the times, kind of old, whatever, but I'm trying to get back into them and hoping you guys are enjoying my journey.